Admiral Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the massive alien ship approach through the viewing screen. The ship was 3 times larger than her flagship and looked like someone had built a floating cathedral out of black metal and angry intentions. She sipped her coffee and wondered if the aliens knew how ridiculous their ship looked with all those spikes and glowing red lights. Captain Amy Rodriguez walked up beside her commander and shook her head. "They really went all out with the scary design, didn't they?" she said. "I mean, who told them that putting skulls on the hull would make us take them seriously?" Lisa smiled and set down her coffee cup. "Maybe they think we scare as easily as other species," she replied. "Should we tell them we put skulls on our motorcycles for fun?" The communication system crackled to life and a deep, threatening voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is Ambassador Veltar of the Croxian Empire speaking for the Galactic Confederation. You will prepare to receive our delegation immediately. Resistance will not be tolerated." Lisa looked at Amy and raised an eyebrow. "Did he just say resistance will not be tolerated?" she asked. "What is this, a bad movie?" Amy tried not to laugh. "Should I tell him we don't take orders from anyone who talks like a cartoon villain?" "Let's see what they want first," Lisa said. She pressed the communication button. "This is Admiral Martinez of the Human Fleet. You're welcome to come aboard, but please wipe your feet. We just cleaned the floors." There was a long pause before Veltar responded. "Your humor is inappropriate. Human. This is a matter of galactic security." "Everything's a matter of galactic security these days," Lisa muttered to Amy, probably upset we didn't ask permission before expanding our territory. 20 minutes later, the alien delegation materialized in the main conference room. Veltar was exactly what Lisa had expected from his voice. He stood 8 feet tall with gray skin that looked like old leather and eyes that glowed red in the dim light. 2 smaller aliens flanked him wearing what appeared to be military uniforms covered in medals that probably meant they were very important and very serious about being important. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the fleet's xenobiologist, sat at the conference table taking notes. She had studied dozens of alien species, but the Croxians always fascinated her because they seemed to think intimidation was the highest form of diplomacy. Veltar placed a metal device on the table and activated it. A holographic display showed star maps with human territory marked in red. "Humans," he began in his deepest, most threatening voice, "your expansion into galactic space ends now. The Confederation has decided that your species poses a threat to galactic stability." Lisa leaned back in her chair and looked at the display. "Galactic stability," she repeated. "You mean the part where 12 different species spend most of their time threatening each other?" "Your sarcasm proves our point," Veltar said. "Humans do not show proper respect for established galactic order. You colonize planets without permission. You build military ships without restriction. You refuse to acknowledge Confederation authority," Amy spoke up from her seat. "Maybe because nobody asked us nicely," she said. "You could have sent a fruit basket with a note asking if we wanted to chat about territory agreements." The smaller aliens looked confused. One of them whispered something to Veltar in their own language. Elena recognized a few words and realized they were asking what a fruit basket was and why humans would want one. Veltar ignored his companions and continued his speech. "The Confederation offers you one final opportunity to submit to our authority. You will reduce your fleet to defensive purposes only. You will cease all territorial expansion. You will accept Confederation oversight of your government and military." Lisa picked up her coffee cup and took another sip. "And if we say no, then you will face the combined might of 12 allied species," Veltar said. "Your primitive technology cannot stand against our superior forces. Your small fleet will be crushed. Your worlds will be occupied. Your people will learn to follow Confederation law." The conference room fell silent. The aliens waited for the expected human response of fear or desperate negotiation. Instead, they heard something they had never encountered in diplomatic relations before. Lisa Martinez began to laugh. It started as a small chuckle but grew into genuine laughter that filled the room. Amy joined in, and soon Elena was giggling despite trying to maintain professional composure. The aliens stared in complete bewilderment as the human officers found their ultimatum hilarious. "I'm sorry," Lisa said, wiping tears from her eyes. It's just that you sound exactly like my ex-husband when he used to threaten to take the dog in our divorce, all bluster and no substance. Veltar's red eyes flared brighter. You mock the Confederation's power. No, we're mocking your presentation, Amy said. Seriously, did you practice that speech in front of a mirror? The whole thing about primitive technology and superior forces sounds like something from a children's story about space pirates. Elena cleared her throat and tried to explain. Ambassador Veltar, I think there might be a cultural misunderstanding. Here, humans respond differently to intimidation than other species. When you threaten us, we tend to find it amusing rather than frightening. Amusing. Veltar repeated the word like it tasted bad. Very amusing, Lisa confirmed. Are you planning to bring snacks when you show up with your 12 allied species? Maybe some of those little sandwiches with the crusts cut off. We could make it a party. The smaller aliens whispered frantically to each other. Elena caught enough words to understand they were asking if humans were insane, or if this was some kind of advanced psychological warfare technique they had never encountered. Veltar stood up to his full height, trying to look more intimidating. Your lack of fear will be your destruction, human. The Confederation has never failed to bring rebellious species into compliance. That's probably because you never tried to intimidate a species that puts hot sauce on everything and considers extreme sports a form of relaxation, Amy said. We're not really the compliant type. Lisa stood up as well, though she was still much shorter than the alien ambassador. Here's our counter-offer, Veltar. You take your ultimatum and your threats back to the Confederation and tell them that if they want to discuss territory agreements, they can send someone with better people skills. Maybe someone who doesn't look like they were designed by a committee of nightmare fuel enthusiasts. You refuse our terms, we refuse to take you seriously, Lisa corrected. There's a difference. Veltar deactivated the holographic display and picked up his device. You have made a grave error, humans. The Confederation fleet will return, and you will learn the price of defying galactic authority. Looking forward to it, Lisa said cheerfully. Don't forget the snacks. The aliens left the conference room in obvious frustration. Elena shook her head as she watched them go. I don't think they expected that reaction. Most species probably beg for mercy when faced with overwhelming odds, Amy said. They're not used to dealing with humans who consider overwhelming odds a personal challenge. Lisa picked up her coffee cup and headed back toward the bridge. Better alert the fleet, she said. Looks like we're about to have some uninvited guests. 3 weeks after the failed diplomatic meeting, War Commander Zephyrian of the militant hegemony stared at the tactical display showing 200 warships from 12 different alien species. The massive fleet stretched across space like a metallic constellation designed to inspire terror in any species foolish enough to oppose Confederation authority. Each ship represented the finest military technology their respective civilizations could produce, and together they formed the largest battle fleet assembled in 50 years. Zephyrian felt confident that no rational species could look at such overwhelming force and choose to fight. The humans would surrender immediately or beg for mercy. Most species did when faced with impossible odds. The few that chose to fight were usually destroyed within hours, leaving behind cautionary tales for other rebellious civilizations. Commander. Katie Walsh sat in the captain's chair aboard the USS Resilience, watching the alien fleet approach through long-range sensors. Her crew worked quietly at their stations, preparing for what everyone expected would be either a very short battle or a very interesting conversation. Katie had read the reports from Admiral Martinez about the Croxian ultimatum, and she understood exactly what kind of impression humanity needed to make. Communications Officer Megan Torres looked up from her console with a grin. The alien fleet is requesting communication, Admiral. Should I put them through? Absolutely, Katie replied. This should be fun. The main viewing screen activated, showing War Commander Zephyrian in what appeared to be the bridge of a massive warship. The alien looked like someone had crossed a lizard with a medieval knight, and given the result anger management issues. His scales were dark green, and his armor was covered in symbols that probably meant he was very good at destroying things. Human. Commander, Zephyrian said in a voice that sounded like gravel, falling down a metal chute. I am War Commander Zephyrian of the Hegemony Fleet. You face the combined military might of 12 allied species. 200 warships stand ready to enforce Confederation law. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be swift. Katie looked around the bridge at her crew, who were all trying not to smile. "Oh, good, you brought friends," she said brightly. "Did someone bring popcorn, because this looks like it's going to be quite a show?" Zephyrian's scaled face showed confusion. "You mock our superior numbers." "Not mocking," Katie corrected. "Just wondering if you planned this whole thing out, or if you just grabbed every ship you could find and hoped for the best. I mean, 200 ships sounds impressive, but the formation looks a little sloppy from here." Navigator Nicole Barnes looked up from her station. "The Zalani ships are definitely not maintaining proper spacing," she observed, "and whoever designed those hegemony dreadnoughts has clearly never heard of aerodynamics." Megan Torres activated her microphone and began providing what she called play-by-play commentary for the rest of the human fleet. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a truly spectacular display of alien engineering here today. The Croxian vessels appear to be going for the classic, intimidating but impractical design, while the hegemony ships look like someone took a perfectly good spaceship and glued weapons to every available surface." Lieutenant Commander Grace Sullivan ran the tactical systems, and she had been taking informal bets among the crew about various aspects of the confrontation. "Current odds favor the Zalani breaking formation first," she announced. "Their pilots have a reputation for being easily distracted, and those ships look like they were built more for racing than intimidation." Nicole Barnes pulled up detailed scans of the alien fleet formations. "I'm giving the overall design a 6 out of 10, she said. "Points for effort, but they lose marks for originality. The whole menacing fleet of doom thing has been done to death." War Commander Zephyrian listened to this commentary with growing bewilderment. In his 40 years of military service, he had never encountered an enemy that responded to overwhelming force by critiquing his fleet's aesthetic choices. "Humans," he said slowly, "you appear to misunderstand your situation. We are here to destroy you, not to receive your opinions on ship design." "Well, that's your first mistake right there," Katie replied. "If you're going to show up uninvited to someone else's space, you should at least make it entertaining for the hosts. Right now, you're just standing there looking threatening, which is pretty boring from our perspective," Megan Torres continued, her running commentary. "The Confederation fleet appears to be maintaining standard intimidation positions, but they're not really bringing any creative flair to the proceedings. Compare this to last month's Pirate Alliance raid, where at least they had interesting paint jobs and some genuinely creative weapon configurations." Grace Sullivan checked her betting pool results. "The crew unanimously agrees that the Croxian ships look like they were designed by someone who really hates fun," she reported. "Also, 3 people have asked if those spikes on the hull serve any actual purpose, or if they're just there to look scary." Nicole Barnes was now rating individual ships on various criteria. "The Hegemony flagship gets points for size, but loses them immediately for looking like a flying brick with delusions of grandeur," she announced. "Seriously, did no one in their design department suggest maybe adding some curves or at least painting it a less depressing color?" Zephyrian tried to regain control of the conversation. "Your fleet consists of 30 vessels," he said. "Our fleet number's 200. Mathematics should tell you that resistance is futile." "Mathematics also tells us that 200 ships trying to coordinate an attack is going to be a logistics nightmare," Katie pointed out. "How many different languages do your commanders speak? And have you actually practiced this formation before, or are you just winging it?" The alien commander paused to consider this question, which was not the response he had expected to give. "The Confederation has extensive experience in joint fleet operations." "That wasn't really an answer," Grace Sullivan observed. "Also, I notice about half your ships have their weapons powered down, which suggests either supreme confidence or poor energy management." "My money's on poor energy management." Megan Torres had been monitoring alien communications channels, and she was reporting her findings to the human fleet. "It looks like the Zalani and Croxian commanders are arguing about formation priorities," she announced. "The Hegemony ships are maintaining radio silence, which probably means they're either very disciplined or they've forgotten how to work their communication systems." Nicole Barnes was still analyzing the alien fleet composition. "Honestly, from a tactical perspective, this looks like 12 different fleets that happen to show up in the same place rather than one coordinated force," she said. "The ship types don't complement each other, and I'm seeing at least 3 different command structures trying to operate simultaneously." War Commander Zephyrian was beginning to understand that this encounter was not proceeding according to any tactical manual he had ever studied. "Humans," he said, Do you intend to surrender or do you choose to die? Katie Walsh leaned back in her captain's chair and smiled. Actually, we choose option 3, she said. We're going to sit here and provide commentary while you figure out whether you actually want to attack us or if you just came here to look intimidating because honestly, you're much more entertaining than scary. This is War Commander Zephyrian. To all Confederation vessels, he announced on an open channel. The humans refuse to surrender. Prepare for battle. This is Commander Walsh to War Commander Zephyrian. Katie responded immediately. Do you validate parking because we might be here for a while? Admiral Lisa Martinez arrived at the confrontation site 6 hours later with what she had decided to call humanity's official response fleet. Instead of bringing overwhelming firepower to match the alien numbers, she had chosen exactly 30 ships and equipped them with something far more dangerous than weapons. She had brought humanity's most powerful tool for dealing with serious situations, which was their complete inability to take serious situations seriously. The human response fleet took up position between the Confederation Armada and the edge of human space, while broadcasting everything on what communications specialist Ruby Chen had dubbed Galactic HFY. The idea was simple and devastating. If the aliens wanted to intimidate humanity, they would have to do it in front of an audience that included every species in the galaxy with access to communication networks. Ruby had spent the last 3 weeks setting up the most comprehensive live broadcast system ever deployed in space. Every human ship was equipped with cameras that could capture the action from multiple angles, and the entire confrontation was being streamed to entertainment networks across 12 star systems. The title card read, Humanity versus the Galaxy. Will they fight or just stand there looking silly? Engineer Chloe Peterson had worked with Ruby to ensure that the human ships could perform elaborate formations that would be visible from any angle. The ships were equipped with enhanced lighting systems that could create patterns and messages in space using coordinated movements and synchronized light displays. What the aliens saw as a military confrontation humanity had turned into the galaxy's largest skywriting exhibition. The first message spelled out across space in letters 3 kilometers tall read, Welcome to human space. Please keep your tentacles inside the vehicle at all times. War Commander Zephyrian watched this display with the kind of confusion usually reserved for species encountering mathematics for the first time. What are the humans doing? He asked his tactical officer. They appear to be forming letters, sir, the officer replied. The message is changing to something new. The second message read, Confederation Fleet, for entertainment purposes only. Actual military threat not included. Admiral Martinez opened a communication channel that was being broadcast live to approximately 40 billion viewers across the galaxy. This is Admiral Martinez of the Human Fleet, she announced cheerfully. We want to welcome our guests from the Galactic Confederation who have traveled such a long way to visit us. We hope you're enjoying your stay in human space and we've prepared some entertainment for you. The human ships began their first coordinated maneuver, which involved 30 vessels moving in perfect synchronization to spell out increasingly elaborate messages. The third message read, Caution, objects in space may be closer than they appear. Logistics officer Diana Brooks had taken responsibility for what she proudly called the galaxy's most dangerous tailgate party. While the alien fleet maintained threatening positions, the human crews were literally having barbecues on their observation decks. The ships had deployed external platforms where crew members could be seen through the transparent barriers cooking food and enjoying what appeared to be a social gathering. Diana had coordinated the delivery of picnic supplies to every ship in the fleet. The sight of human naval officers grilling burgers while surrounded by 200 alien warships was being broadcast live across the galaxy, and the viewer ratings were breaking records on every network carrying the feed. The important thing, Diana explained during a live interview, is to maintain morale during tense situations. Nothing says confidence like a properly organized barbecue party. We've got 3 different types of potato salad and someone brought homemade cookies. Dr. Elena Vasquez was providing educational commentary for the galactic audience about the cultural significance of human behavior during conflicts. Throughout their history, she explained, humans have demonstrated a tendency to celebrate in the face of overwhelming odds. This behavior confuses species that expect fear or desperation, but it serves an important psychological function for maintaining group cohesion under stress. The alien commanders found themselves in completely uncharted territory. Military doctrine from every known species included procedures for dealing with enemy surrender, desperate last stands, and tactical withdrawals. No military manual in galactic history contained instructions for responding to an enemy that treated impending battle like a block party. Captain Amy Rodriguez was coordinating what the humans had started calling Fleet Fashion Friday. Her ship took turns broadcasting detailed critiques of alien vessel designs with helpful suggestions for improvement. The Croxian ships would benefit from some color variation, she announced to the galactic audience. All that black and red makes them look like they're trying too hard to be intimidating. Maybe some nice blue accents or even some decorative trim. The hegemony dreadnoughts received particularly harsh reviews. These ships look like someone took a bunch of geometric shapes and welded them together without any regard for aesthetics or efficiency, Rodriguez observed. The weapon placement is impractical, and the overall design suggests that functionality was completely subordinated to looking scary, which is really more of a design philosophy failure than anything else, cultural liaison Olivia Martinez had begun, creating viral video content explaining alien cultural practices to the human audience. Her most popular segment was called Why Do They Do That? And featured detailed analysis of various alien intimidation rituals. The Zalani war chants had been remixed into dance tracks that were climbing the entertainment charts, and the Croxian threat displays had been turned into a comedy routine that was being performed in comedy clubs across human space. The interesting thing about Confederation intimidation tactics, Olivia explained to her audience, is that they're based on the assumption that all species respond to threats in the same way. But humans have this weird habit of finding humor in dangerous situations, which completely undermines the psychological impact these displays are supposed to have. Intelligence Officer Hannah Pierce was monitoring communications across the alien fleet and reporting some unexpected developments. We're seeing increasing chatter among the younger alien officers, she announced. A significant number of them are watching our broadcasts instead of monitoring their tactical systems. Several Zalani pilots have requested permission to attend our barbecue party. The most surprising development came when the proud and normally stoic Elven fleet began showing signs of genuine amusement at human commentary. Commander Lyranus of the Elven had been observed on several occasions appearing to laugh at human broadcasts, which according to galactic records had never happened before in her 300-year career. War Commander Zephyrian made another attempt to regain control of the situation. Admiral Martinez, he announced, your behavior is inappropriate for a military confrontation. This is a serious matter of galactic security. Everything's serious until it isn't, Martinez replied. The way we see it, you can either stand there, looking threatening while we have a party, or you can actually do something about our presence here. But if you're planning to attack us, you should probably do it soon because we're running low on hamburger buns and the dinner crowd is getting hungry. The human ships completed their latest message, which read, Confederation Fleet, your performance has been rated 3 stars out of 5. Points deducted for lack of originality and excessive use of scary lighting. By this point, the confrontation had attracted the attention of neutral species throughout the galaxy who were watching the proceedings with fascination. Never before had anyone seen a potential interstellar war turned into entertainment programming, and the implications were being debated in diplomatic circles across dozens of worlds. The humans had successfully transformed what should have been a terrifying display of superior force into the galaxy's most popular reality show, and they showed no signs of taking their situation seriously, despite being outnumbered nearly 7-1. War Commander Zephyrian stared at his tactical display, showing 30 human ships maintaining perfect formation, while their crews enjoyed what appeared to be the universe's most relaxed military standoff, and realized that nothing in his training had prepared him for dealing with an enemy that responded to overwhelming odds by throwing a party. The standoff entered its second day, and humanity escalated their psychological warfare by launching what Captain Amy Rodriguez called the most devastating weapon in their arsenal, which was live-streamed reaction videos to alien battle formations. Rodriguez had set up what she proudly announced as Fleet Fashion Friday, where human officers provided detailed critiques of alien ship designs with the kind of brutal honesty usually reserved for bad restaurant reviews. Today we're looking at the Hegemony Dreadnought class, Rodriguez announced to her galactic audience while the camera focused on the massive alien warship. Now, I want to be fair here, but whoever designed this ship clearly thought that adding more weapons would solve every possible design problem. The result looks like someone took a perfectly good spacecraft and then attached every gun they could find until it resembled a floating armory with serious self-esteem issues. The hegemony officers monitoring human broadcasts found themselves in the unprecedented position of having their military hardware roasted by an enemy commander who treated their fearsome dreadnoughts like entries in a design competition. Rodriguez continued her commentary with professional thoroughness that made her criticism even more devastating. "The weapon placement is completely impractical," she observed. "Half of those gun emplacements can't fire without hitting other parts of the same ship, and the whole design screams trying too hard to look intimidating. It's like they prioritized scary over functional, which is really more of a philosophical failure than an engineering one." The Zelani warriors were experiencing their own crisis of confidence as their traditional intimidation tactics backfired spectacularly. The war chants that had struck fear into enemy hearts for centuries had been turned into remixed dance tracks by human DJs and were climbing the entertainment charts across multiple star systems. Lieutenant Sarah Kim had created what she called the Zelani Top 10, which featured the most popular alien war songs converted into party music. Number 7 this week is the classic Zelani Battle Hymn of Destruction, Sarah announced during her daily broadcast. The original version was designed to inspire terror in enemies, but the human remix adds a really catchy bass line that makes it perfect for workout playlists. "We've had requests from 3 different fitness centers asking for the extended dance version. Cultural liaison Olivia Martinez had turned alien intimidation rituals into comedy gold, with her viral video series explaining galactic cultural practices to human audiences. Her most popular episode featured the Croxian threat display ritual, where warriors would pound their chests while making elaborate speeches about conquest and domination. The thing about Croxian intimidation displays, Olivia explained to her viewers while showing footage of Ambassador Veltar's original ultimatum, is that they follow a very specific cultural script that's supposed to inspire fear and submission. But when you break it down, the whole thing is basically an alien version of a motivational speech given by someone who's really angry about everything." The psychological impact of being mocked instead of feared was beginning to show across the alien fleet. Several Confederation commanders reported discipline problems as their crews spent more time watching human broadcasts than maintaining battle readiness. The humans had weaponized entertainment, and it was proving more effective than conventional military tactics. Commander Lyranus of the Elven Fleet found herself in an impossible situation. Her species prided themselves on stoic emotional control and perfect military discipline, but she could not stop watching human commentary. For the first time in her 300-year career, she had been observed laughing during a military operation, and the implications were troubling her more than any enemy weapon ever had. The Elven had built their reputation on being unflappable in the face of any threat, but the humans had somehow made her crack by treating a potential war like a social event. She watched Admiral Martinez coordinate her fleet's latest formation, which spelled out, "Confederation Fleet, have you tried asking nicely instead of making threats?" and felt something she had never experienced before, which was the urge to join the party instead of maintaining military protocol. Intelligence Officer Hannah Pierce was monitoring communications across the alien fleet and reporting some fascinating developments to the human command structure. "We're seeing significant fractures in Confederation unity," she announced during her daily briefing. "Multiple species are questioning whether they want to fight a race that responds to threats by turning them into entertainment content." The younger alien officers were proving particularly susceptible to human influence. Several Zelani pilots had officially requested permission to attend the human barbecue party, and 3 Croxian junior officers had been disciplined for asking their commanders if they could contribute to the human comedy programs. The rigid military hierarchy that held the Confederation together was beginning to show cracks under the pressure of sustained mockery. Dr. Elena Vasquez was documenting the psychological effects of humanity's unconventional warfare tactics for future study. "What we're seeing here is a complete breakdown of traditional intimidation dynamics," she explained to a conference of xenopsychologists who were attending virtually. The aliens expected fear or anger or desperation, but instead they're getting humor and confidence, which their military doctrine has no procedures for handling. The most significant development came when Commander Lyranus made an unprecedented decision that shocked both sides of the confrontation. She activated a private communication channel to Admiral Martinez and spoke words that no Elven commander had ever uttered during a military operation. "Admiral Martinez," she said carefully, "I find myself in an unusual position. Your species responds to overwhelming odds with celebration rather than despair. This suggests a level of confidence that either borders on insanity or is based on capabilities we have not observed." Martinez accepted the private communication with genuine curiosity. "Commander Lyranus, isn't it?" she replied. "I've heard good things about Elven tactical doctrine. Very precise, very disciplined. Must be frustrating to watch us turn your perfectly organized battle formation into comedy material." "Frustrating is not the correct word," Lyranus admitted. "Your behavior suggests that you do not consider our fleet a legitimate threat, which implies either supreme confidence or superior defensive capabilities. Given your species' history of unconventional problem-solving, I am beginning to suspect the latter." The conversation between Martinez and Lyranus was being monitored by communications specialists on both sides, and the implications were staggering. The Elven commander was essentially admitting that humanity's complete lack of fear might be justified rather than simply insane. War Commander Zephyrian was losing control of his carefully assembled coalition as individual species began reconsidering their participation in what was supposed to be a straightforward intimidation campaign. The humans had turned his overwhelming display of force into an entertainment spectacle, and several of his own allies were starting to enjoy the show more than the military operation. "This is intolerable," he announced during a private conference with the other Confederation commanders. "The humans mock our power and undermine our authority. We must attack immediately before this situation deteriorates further." But even his fellow commanders were beginning to express doubts about the wisdom of attacking a species that seemed completely unconcerned about facing impossible odds. Ambassador Veltar of the Croxians had spent considerable time analyzing human behavior, and his conclusions were troubling. "War Commander," Veltar said slowly, "I have studied the human responses extensively, and I believe we may have underestimated their defensive capabilities. No rational species would respond to our ultimatum with such confidence unless they possessed significant advantages we have not observed." The Confederation fleet found itself trapped in a psychological stalemate of their own making. They had assembled overwhelming force to intimidate humanity into submission, but the humans had responded by turning the entire confrontation into the galaxy's most popular entertainment program. Every day they delayed their attack, humanity gained more supporters among neutral species and even within their own ranks. Captain Rodriguez completed her latest ship review by giving the entire Confederation fleet a collective rating of 4 out of 10 for military intimidation value. "Points for effort and organization," she announced to her galactic audience, "but major deductions for unoriginal tactics and failure to adapt to unexpected circumstances. Overall, the performance feels dated and predictable, which is really disappointing given all the build-up." Admiral Lisa Martinez decided it was time to end the standoff before the aliens realized they were being played by masters of psychological warfare who had turned their intimidation campaign into the galaxy's most successful reality television program. She opened a communication channel that reached every ship in both fleets and began broadcasting what would become known as the most important military transmission in galactic history. "Attention, Confederation fleet and galactic audience," she announced, with the kind of casual confidence that had made humanity famous across 12 star systems. "We appreciate everyone taking the time to visit human space, and we hope you've enjoyed the entertainment we've provided over the past week. However, all good things must come to an end, so we thought it was time to explain why we've been so relaxed about this whole situation." War Commander Zephyrian felt a chill of dread as Martinez continued her broadcast. Something in her tone suggested that the humans had been holding back important information, and he suspected he was about to learn why they had seemed so unconcerned about facing impossible odds. "You see," Martinez explained, "while you were spending 3 weeks assembling your impressive fleet, we used that time productively. Chief Engineer Samantha Blake, would you like to show our guests what we've been working on? Samantha Blake activated a series of displays that revealed the locations of humanity's actual defensive installations for the first time. The holographic projections showed a network of automated defense platforms surrounding every human world and scattered throughout human space in carefully calculated positions that created overlapping fields of fire covering every possible approach. "Rote, ladies and gentlemen," Samantha announced, "I present the Human Defense Grid, which has been operational for approximately 6 months. Each platform is equipped with weapons systems that make your average dreadnought look like a children's toy, and they're all controlled by artificial intelligence systems that can coordinate attacks faster than any biological crew." The defensive platforms were revealed to be hidden inside what appeared to be ordinary asteroids and space debris. The Confederation fleet had been surrounded by automated weapons systems since their arrival, but the platforms had remained dormant and invisible to standard sensors. The aliens realized they had been sitting in the middle of a trap for an entire week while congratulating themselves on their superior numbers. Commander Lyranis studied the tactical display showing platform locations with growing admiration for human strategic thinking. "Remarkable," she said to her tactical officer. "They allowed us to position ourselves exactly where their defensive systems would be most effective while keeping us distracted with entertainment programming." Martinez continued her explanation with the kind of educational enthusiasm usually reserved for museum tours. "The beauty of the system is that it's completely automated, so we didn't need to risk any human lives dealing with your ultimatum. We could have activated the platforms at any time during your visit, but we thought it would be more educational to demonstrate something more important than superior firepower." Captain Amy Rodriguez took over the broadcast to explain the deeper implications of humanity's strategy. "What we've shown you over the past week is something that military force alone cannot provide, which is the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever the universe throws at you. We didn't build this defense grid because we're afraid of threats like yours. We built it so we could afford to laugh at them." Dr. Elena Vasquez provided the scientific analysis of human behavior that had been requested by xenopsychologists across the galaxy. Human responses to intimidation are fundamentally different from most species because we've evolved to treat overwhelming odds as a challenge rather than a reason to surrender. This psychological adaptation allows us to maintain morale and creativity under pressure, which gives us strategic advantages that cannot be countered by superior numbers alone. The revelation that humanity possessed overwhelming defensive capabilities was only part of the shock the aliens were experiencing. The deeper realization was that humans had used the confrontation to demonstrate something far more valuable than military superiority. They had shown the galaxy a species that could find joy and humor even when facing what appeared to be certain destruction. Commander Lyranis made a decision that sent shockwaves through both fleets when she activated an open communication channel and spoke words that no elven officer had ever uttered during a military operation. "Admiral Martinez, this is Commander Lyranis of the Elven Fleet requesting permission to break ranks and join your formation." The silence that followed this announcement was the kind usually reserved for moments when the fundamental nature of reality shifts in unexpected directions. Lyranis was not just requesting asylum or negotiating a separate peace. She was abandoning her allies in the middle of a military confrontation to join the enemy she had been sent to intimidate. "Permission granted, Commander," Martinez replied without hesitation. "We always have room for one more at the party, the Elven." Ships broke formation and moved to join the human fleet, while their crews began monitoring human communication channels to learn more about the species that had accomplished something no military force in galactic history had ever achieved. They had convinced elite alien warriors to switch sides during a battle by demonstrating that confidence and humor were more powerful than threats and superior numbers. War Commander Zephyrian watched his carefully assembled coalition disintegrate, as other species began questioning their participation in what was clearly a failed intimidation campaign. The humans had not just defeated his fleet psychologically, they had revealed the fundamental weakness in Confederation strategy, which was the assumption that all species responded to threats in predictable ways. Captain Katie Walsh transmitted the final message from the human fleet to the remaining Confederation ships. "Thanks for the entertainment, everyone, but we think it's time for you to head home." Next time you want to discuss territorial agreements, maybe try sending a diplomatic mission instead of making threats. We're much friendlier when people aren't trying to intimidate us. The message that became legendary throughout the galaxy was transmitted by Admiral Martinez as the Confederation fleet began its withdrawal. To all species watching this broadcast, we want you to know that humanity is always interested in making new friends and allies. We believe the galaxy is big enough for everyone to find their place without resorting to intimidation or conquest. If you want to visit human space, you're welcome anytime, but please remember to bring snacks and leave the threatening speeches at home. Communications Officer Ruby Chen compiled the final statistics from Galacticam, which had broken every viewership record in galactic broadcasting history. Final numbers show we reached an audience of approximately 200 billion viewers across 47 different species, she announced. The most popular segments were Fleet Fashion Friday and the Zalani War Chant remixes, which are still climbing the charts on entertainment networks throughout the galaxy. The long-term implications of humanity's unconventional victory became clear over the following months as diplomatic missions from dozens of species requested permission to visit human space. The humans had demonstrated that it was possible to resolve conflicts through confidence and creativity rather than superior firepower, and several species wanted to learn more about this revolutionary approach to galactic relations. Cultural liaison. Olivia Martinez found herself coordinating the busiest diplomatic schedule in human history as species after species sent representatives to study human culture and military doctrine. Apparently, she reported to Admiral Martinez, the galaxy is very interested in learning how to weaponize humor and turn military confrontations into entertainment programming. Dr. Elena Vasquez published her analysis of the confrontation, which became required reading at military academies throughout the galaxy. Her conclusion was simple but profound. Humanity has demonstrated that the most effective response to intimidation is not counter-intimidation, but the kind of confidence that can only come from a species that has learned to find humor in the face of overwhelming odds. The Confederation never again attempted to intimidate humanity through displays of superior force. They had learned that threatening a species that considers extreme sports a form of relaxation and puts hot sauce on everything was not just ineffective, but likely to result in their military doctrine being turned into comedy material for galactic audiences. Admiral Martinez kept the final transmission from War Commander Zephyrian as a reminder of humanity's greatest diplomatic victory. The humans have proven that there are responses to military pressure that we never considered, he had admitted before his fleet withdrew. Perhaps the Confederation should study their methods instead of trying to impose our authority upon them. 3. Galaxy had learned an important lesson about the species from Earth. Humans might be relatively new to galactic civilization, but they had something that no amount of military superiority could provide, which was the absolute confidence that came from facing the universe with laughter instead of fear.